So, what if you knew that Jesus would be stopping by your house today at noon? What would you do about that to get ready? Well, Jesus did say he would return. We just don't know exactly when. How can you prepare right now? Jesus said, be ready. Good morning, and welcome to 755 Live. For about 5 minutes, you'll hear all about easy to remember soundbite versions of what Jesus said. And the point is to help you experience life to the fullest the Jesus way. Today's Jesus Said comes from Matthew 24, verses 42 through 44, and we'll be reading from the New Living Translation, where Jesus said, "So you too must keep watch, for you don't know what day your Lord is coming. Understand this. If a homeowner knew exactly when a burglar was coming, he would keep watch and not permit his house to be broken into. You must also be ready all the time, for the Son of Man will come when least expected." So let me stop here for a minute before we go on. Let's look at some context here about what Jesus was talking about here in Matthew 24 as he's saying, keep watch. Be ready. Now, the disciples had asked questions about the end time. So, Matthew 24, verse 3, as he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, his disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will these things happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" And so they were asking a couple of questions here. When is this going to happen? When are you going to return? When is the end of the age? And then what sign can we look toward? And Jesus let us know that the signs are everywhere. And he said to keep watch because we don't know when he's coming. Now, every single generation throughout the history of the world since Jesus has thought the troubles of their day were these signs of the end. In fact, much of our church structure and theology came about in the mid-1800s because of a revival of end-time prophecy and thinking that the signs of society at that time were the end. We had the Blood Moon books in 2014-15. I mean, it was on the top of the bestsellers list. We hear about the possibility of nuclear Armageddon in the news right now. But could it be that we're watching for the wrong things? How did Jesus say to watch? What should we be looking for to understand when he is coming? Well, here's one way that he told us to watch. In fact, when he was praying the night before he was crucified, he told his disciples, "My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Well, the disciples couldn't even do that. He asked them to tarry for an hour, and they took a nap instead. Later on in verse 40 of chapter 26, when he returned, he found them asleep, and he said to Peter, "Couldn't you watch with me even 1 hour? Keep watch and pray, so that you will not give in to temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the body is weak." Now, the analogy that Jesus used here included watching and waiting like a servant. In fact, it's very similar to the language used in this passage in Isaiah 40:31. "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." That waiting on the Lord is not just sitting around watching the clock, but it is waiting or serving, being ready to do what God wants us to do. You see, waiting is acting in faith. The waiting renew their strength. Those who serve, those who are waiting on God to get instructions, they take wings, they run, and they don't sit and do nothing, but they serve in obedience. And that's what Jesus was saying. Back to Matthew 24. A faithful, sensible servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility of managing his other household servants and feeding them. So how can you be ready for Jesus to return? How can you serve watching and being ready. We're to watch for Jesus, not for the Antichrist, or not for sin going crazy. We're to watch for Jesus and manage and feed the household, which is the least of these. That's how we are called to be ready. Jesus said, be ready. How can you put that into action today? Thank you so much for listening. If this is meaningful to you, it really does mean a lot when you like it, when you share it, when you comment. I really appreciate you. I hope that you have an amazing day. And I hope this time together has helped you live life to the fullest, the Jesus way. And remember, follow Jesus today. Love first.